Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Mike from the Relating Revolution. And so the number one thing that I hear clients say is when we ask the question, well, what's the biggest challenge in your relationship? People say communication, right? And so communication, 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 right? But here's a myth that I'm going to bust for you, or something that I want to add a nuance to this that you maybe have not thought of before. Communication is not what we say. And yeah, you've heard that, oh, not, 90% of communication is body language, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm talking about even deeper than that, and I'm going to explain. I'm talking about the state of being that we're in is the real communication. But when our nervous systems when we're in survival mode, which is what most people are in when they are requiring or desiring or seeking marriage counseling or something like that, or they even want to upgrade, or they're in the middle of COVID and they're homeschooling kids and the house is a mess, and they don't have their normal kind of outreach mechanisms or support networks or things like that. Most people are spending a lot more time in fight, flight, or freeze in the survival mode of the brain. So and this doesn't not need to be like a major thing. I'm talking about when you say I'm stressed out, that means your brain is in the survival mode. So it doesn't need to be such an extreme thing. However, it's important to know that if you are stressed out, you are activating the nervous system neurology, biology, and chemistry that, according to your brain, thinks that there's a tiger at your throat, that there's a real and present danger. Now, the interesting thing about COVID is that outside of us, there are some real and present dangers. But for most of us in our lives, and hopefully this is the case for you, and I'm not, if this is not the case for you, then this is not a relevant message. But for most of us, we have warm houses, we have food in the refrigerator, we can go to the grocery store, we are not in real and present danger. We can socially distance. We can do the things that we need to do to stay, healthy and safe and all that sort of thing. So the survival mode is by definition a biological overreaction. Approaching life through the lens of fight, flight, or freeze, anger, fear, anxiety, worry, doubt, stress is by definition a biological overreaction. And here's the thing is when that is the case, our nervous system filters our experience and it treats the entire world, including the people we love, as either a competitor or a predator. And so then we get in this situation where the filter, literally the glasses that we see through, the lens that we see through, the way we think, the way we feel, the way we interpret, the way we receive information, the way we give information, the way we communicate and receive communication is literally through the lens of attack and defend, competitor, predator. And so we can communicate and have validation statements and tell me how that make you feel, and oh, that what I hear you saying is good. Maybe there's some useful communication exercises, but if your brain is under stress, if you are in the survival mode, you can consciously communicate until you are blue in the face, and you and your partner will still escalate into the types of discussions that cause harm and damage to both of you. So so it this I can't impress this enough, how important it is at the beginning of trying to get your marriage into a more healthy, more thriving, more joyful, more open, loving state, to stop talking about it. You're like, what? You're a therapist. You're telling people to stop talking about it? Yes. And start doing the things that can get your nervous system into the thriving mode. And so, and there are things that you can do together, and there's things that you can do alone, and it's more than we can handle in this conversation right here today. But there are things that we can practically do to turn off the survival part of the brain, turn off the alarm, and turn on the thriving part of the brain so that we can actually communicate love, trust, connection, empathy, joy, compassion. And not only do we communicate that, but we receive it that way. But when we're in survival mode, someone can be like, I love you, and be like, oh my gosh, they're going to leave me. Why do they hate me? It's the nervous system, there may be, there may be thanks for the feedback, James. I'm not sure if that's sarcastic because I use a lot of body language, or if it's but appreciate you you being here. So there there may be there may be some philosophical ideal of an enlightened person that does not have nervous system filters. But for the rest of us ordinary folks, we are always filtering our experience through whatever lens our nervous system is operating under. And where our power is the ability to turn off the survival mode, take off those fight or flight or freeze, attack and defend, competitor predator glasses, and put on the lens of love, trust, understanding, empathy, compassion, wisdom, etc., such that we now can actually communicate. We can actually meet each other in heart to heart, win win consciousness, and then we can actually thrive together. Okay? So, when things are really rough, it's a really good idea to and start doing things that get your nervous system settled down, calm down, both together and as individuals. And that is then you can start having more productive conversations. But oftentimes it takes a month or 2 months of like getting your rebuilding the hormones and the chemistry and the neurology and biology of love and trust before it starts to feel right, before it starts to really be working, and then before you can actually then sit down and have a real conversation where you actually have some productivity and some progress, instead of just every single time you try to think about it, you try to figure it out, you journal about it, you try to understand it. That's when all of that stuff is done from the survival mode, it won't work. It's sabotage from the beginning. So we have to get our nervous systems managed, under control. Maybe control isn't the right way to put it, but like in a thriving state, or else all of those efforts, however sincere and however well intentioned, and however it might be a positive thing to learn how to communicate better, in the way we typically think about that, it's just not going to work if we're not in the thriving mode. All right. Love you all. Have a beautiful day. Awesome, Angela. Thank you for watching, and hope you all are doing well, safe, healthy, and happy. And feel free to check out the description for a 5-day challenge. I'm going to be teaching some of the tools that we're talking about. I can't do that here today, obviously, but starting on February 15th, I'm going to be teaching some of this stuff for free. There's a link in the description, so check it out. Love you all. Ciao.